All right. Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. All right, this is Mr. Carvey making a video for eighth grade math, aligned to the Georgia Standards of Excellence here. And what we're doing is we're setting the foundation for systems of equations and what's going to happen. We're just going to refine our algebra skills here before we jump into a system. So just want to make sure that we understand a few different things here. Okay. So this is a follow-up to solving equations with variables on both sides. Okay. The other video was about 25 minutes. And so, I know your attention span isn't, that long, but I'm gonna try to make this short and as seamless as possible. So what we have here is like level one, right? If you got wings, you got your plain, you're mild and you're spicy, right? This is like mild. You know what I'm saying? So the key concept that we have to remember is to distribute. That's the that's the biggest thing that we really have to remember here for a basic situation like this. You just got to remember when you see the grouping symbols, when you see the parentheses, and then when you look in there, you can't like simplify that, right? X plus 5, there's nothing we can do with it. So that's why we have to distribute so that we can manipulate it in a format that we can use. So just remember when you're distributing, that means you're multiplying, right? You're multiplying the outside factor times both items in parentheses. So 3 times x is 3x. Keep your symbol. 3 times 5 is 15 equals 39. This is your two-step equation, right? So remember, we got to isolate the variable. So we're going to subtract 15. We don't want to subtract x because we want to leave that for last. You want to get rid of the constant. Bring this up here. 39 minus 15 is 24. And x is equal to 8. Okay. So again, the key thing to remember is when you see the parentheses and looking inside of that, you can't do the order of operations, right? X plus 5, they're unlike terms. You can't do anything more with that. It's when you look to the outside and you have to distribute in order for you to manipulate the terms in your equation so that we can solve for the variable here. Okay. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is in the same vein as number 1, right? So again, x plus 8, you can't do nothing with that. So you got to distribute. So we do 7 times x and 7 times 8. We got 7x plus 56 equals 49. Again, the 7x plus 56, we want to get rid of that plus 56 because we want to have x by itself. So don't be afraid. 49 minus 56, oh, it can't do that. No, it's going to be negative, which is fine. It's perfectly all right for you to have negative numbers here. Okay. Slide this over. So I'm going to bring over my 7x plus 56 minus 56, they cancel. And then 49 minus 56, let's say negative 7. And then you divide x is equal to negative 1, right? So again, when you see your grouping symbols, you can't simplify what's in there, distribute in order to manipulate all of the terms here into something that you can use, right? And then solve for your variable. Okay. Let's move on to something like number 7. Something like number 7, Again, looking in parentheses, you can't really do nothing with it. So you distribute, but when you look at it, it's gonna get kind of ugly when you distribute, right? So a shortcut you could use, you could multiply by the reciprocal as well. Remember the reciprocal of 4/9 is like 9/4. Multiply over here by 9/4. Multiply over here by 9/4. Okay. The advantage of doing that is when you multiply by the reciprocal in the fraction here, 9 times 4 is 36. 4 times 9 is 36. You get 36 over 36, which is 1, right? So it's like you simplify this whole side. So all you have is x plus 13. Okay. Now, of course, you got the right-hand side here. So you're gonna have to, do your math in order to figure out that bad boy, right? So remember when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. So you have 72 over 4. And 72 divided by 4 is actually 18. So I'm going to bring this 18 right over here. Now I have x plus 13 equals 18. Subtract 13. X is equal to 5. I'll get some water. So when you're looking at stuff like number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10, and you got the fraction out front here as your factor, you could make life a lot easier and multiply by the reciprocal. Just make sure you multiply both sides by the reciprocal. Okay, so let's do number 8. The reciprocal of 9/10 is 10 over 9. So, it's kind of ugly right there. So I'm just going to say 10 over 9. And multiply this guy by 10 over 9 as well. Again, the advantage of multiplying by the reciprocal is that it's like you're clearing the fraction a little bit. Okay, so fractions go away because 10 times 9 is 90. 9 times 10 is 90. 90 over 90 is 1. So all I'm left with is x plus 8. Because 1 times x plus 8, it still remains as x plus 8. Okay. When I look over here, again, I'm going to have some big boy fractions here. See what you can reduce. You can look up and down, and I can't reduce that, but also look diagonally. 9 times divided by 9 is 1. 18 divided by 9 is 2. And 2 times 10 is 20. So I'm going to get 20 over 1, which is equal to 20. Subtract 8, x is equal to 12. Okay, so pretty nifty here. When you see the fractions out front, like on 9 and 10, when you see those fractions out front, y'all, multiply by the reciprocal to both sides. When you do that, you clear the fractions on the left side, right? They simplify to 1. And so you bring down that expression. On the right-hand side, you gotta, remember how to multiply your fractions, reduce when you're able to, and you'll get an answer on the right. And it should break down into a simpler equation so you can solve for the variable. Right. Now, in that same vein, like fractions, you also have decimals. Okay. Now you could distribute with decimals too. You could do that, right? But there's another kind of nifty thing you can do, right? So just like the fractions, remember when we're multiplying by the reciprocal, we're actually dividing fractions, right? Because that's the algorithm for dividing fractions is multiplying by the reciprocal. Well, I can divide here, right? So 4.5 times x minus 9 equals 13.5. I could divide by 4.5 and I would get the same effect. So when I divide by 4.5, 4.5 divided by 4.5 is 1. Boom. So then I have x minus 9 equals. Remember, this is negative. So negative 13.5 divided by 4.5. Okay. So I'm going to divide by 4.5. And negative 13.5 divided by 4.5 gives you negative 3. And I'm going to mosey on up over here because I'm running out of room. X minus 9 equals negative 3. Add 9. X is equal to 6. Okay. So decimals work in a similar fashion in fractions, right? Where once you divide, you kind of clear some things away, right? Things simplify to 1. You bring down the expression and then make sure you divide on both sides. Like the fractions here, you got to multiply by the reciprocal on both sides. Decimals, you got to divide by both sides, okay? In order to make the equation easier to work with. And then you'll be able to solve for the variable. Okay, let's come over here to number 11. And I'm doing a lot right now, I apologize. Right, we still not even done to the 2 side. This is still 7th grade stuff right here. We still mild, we not spicy yet. Same thing here for number 11. Okay, you got the decimal, just like we did over here. Divide by the decimal, the whole left side. 1.5 divided by 1.5 is 1. So then you're just left with x plus 7. Okay. Remember to divide the 1.5 into both. $11.25, 11.25 divided by 1.5 gives you 7.5. Okay. I got my one-step equation. Instead of adding 7, I'm going to do the opposite and subtract 7. So x is equal to 1/2. Okay. So again, this kind of stuff right here is a review of 7th grade math. All right. So you got to remember, number 1, to distribute. We got to distribute appropriately. Okay. Number 2, if you're faced with fractions, multiply by the reciprocal. Got into both sides. Remember to multiply by the reciprocal when you have fractions. And then last but not least, when you got your decimals as a coefficient, go ahead and divide to make your situation a lot more manageable. So I think that was a good 10 minutes. So I'm still running over time. I apologize. Okay. Now let's get to what your assignment is in Schoology. All this is just baseline. This is just review. All right. All right, cool. In Schoology, you're going to see the assignment solve multi-step equation homework practice. And the stuff we do on the skills practice is very similar, it's comparable to what you'll see on the homework practice. So that's why I like to go over these. So number one, we're looking at 4 times quantity 2 plus 3c equals 56. So remember what we just talked about, right? In the parentheses here, we can't combine these two. 2 plus 3c, they're unlike terms. So you got to distribute. Boom. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3c, we multiply the coefficients, you get 12c equals 56. Let me move my cursor out of the way. Okay. You want to isolate the variable, so get rid of your 8. Am I going to add 8 or subtract 8? Well, remember, right now 8 is positive. So we want to, we want to subtract 8. Okay, we want to subtract 8 there. Okay, 56 minus 8 is 48. Bring him over here. One-step situation, opposite of multiplying by 12 is dividing by 12. Okay. Number 2 is the same way. And still, we're still on, now this is plain chicken. We were at now we're back to plain. This is plain Jane, right? You work with it the same way. Remember, when you distribute negatives, to remember your negative in your rules, right? And you want to treat this minus 2n as a negative 2n. So when you distribute, it's going to be negative 3 times 1 and negative 3 times negative 2n. So remember that. Moving on down, excuse me. Number 3 is a step up. So now we're back to mild chicken. So when we're looking at everything, I bet I got my parentheses again. So I'm gonna do what I did up here. I gotta distribute. Rewrite everything. 5 times 2a is 10a. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5 plus my 2a. Okay, if you don't want to think about it as negative, then don't listen to me. So do 5 times 1 and then 5. Okay. Now I got to combine like terms. I got my 10a and my 2a. Y'all can't see that. Oh, bam, bam. Here we go. 10a plus 2a is 12a. Rewrite everything. Negative 29 equals 12a minus 5. Remember, 10a plus 2a. Remember, you add the coefficients. So we got 12. Remember, I want to get rid of my constant. So I add 5. And I don't add 5 to 12a because those are unlike terms. Once I add the 5 on the right, now I bust it over here to the left. So you have negative 24 is equal to 12a. Mosey on over here. Divide by 12. Negative 2 is equal to a. I want y'all to confuse my a for nines. So number 3, we take the same approach like we did for number 1. Look for the parentheses, distribute. 5 times 2a, 10a. 5 times 1, 5. I got like terms, so I combined them to get 12a, and I brought down my minus 5. I got to get 12a by itself, so I add 5. I add 5 because it's already subtracting 5, and you got to do the opposite. Add 5. And negative 29 plus 5 is negative 24 equals 12a. And then you divide by the coefficient in order to figure out what you got going on here. Okay. Still on, mild right now. Now, let's take a look at number 4, only because I got variables on both sides, which is what this whole lesson is about. Everything was leading up to this, and I apologize if I'm taking too long to get there, but everything was leading up to this. So do not be intimidated by this. Still do what you know how to do. Distribute. Whenever you see these grouping symbols, distribute. Okay, so let's go. Let's start with the left-hand side. My negative 1g plus 2 times, so 2 times 3, 2 times g. So negative 1g plus 2 times 3, 6, plus 2g equals, again, 2 times g, 2g, 2 times 3, 6, keep my negative 1g, equals, I distribute here. Come on now. Negative 4 times g, negative 4g, and negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. You could write plus minus 4, but we don't do that plus minus, right? Because we know better than that. Okay, here we go. On the left-hand side, I got some like terms. I got my negative 1g and my 2g. Negative 1 plus 2. Negative 1 plus 2 is actually 1. And bring down my 6. So I have 6 plus g equals negative 4g minus 4. Okay. So what I like to do is move the smaller coefficient, right? Negative 4 is smaller than 1. So I'm going to move my negative 4 over here. And remember, how do you move that? You move it by doing the opposite. So opposite of minus 4g is plus 4g. Now you ain't gotta do it like this. This is just, this is just what I'm doing to keep my pattern the same, to keep my system the same. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna rewrite it over here. 6 plus g equals negative 4g minus 4 plus 4g plus 4g. I bring down my negative 4 because that's all I got left over here. Negative 4g plus 4g, they cancel. 1g plus 4g is T-Mobile, 5G. And I got my +6. So again, your algebra tendency is, and your rule is to always get the variable by itself. So I want to get rid of this +6. So I don't add 6 to both sides because it's already positive. Subtract 6. So then I have 5G equals -10 divided by 5. G equals -2. Okay, this was a lot of steps, but you know, you got to keep track of what you're doing. So let's take it from the top. And I know I'm taking a long time, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So starting from the beginning, you want to look for your parentheses and your grouping symbols, and you want to distribute. So 2 times 3, 6. 2 times G, 2G. Bring down my -1G. My -1G and 2G are like terms. So -1 plus 2 is 1. So I got my 1G here. And I brought down my 6. 6 plus G, I cannot add those. They are unlike terms, so I leave them like that. Come over here to the right side. -4 times G, -4G. -4 times 1, -4. Okay. Now, I want to move this -4 over here with the 1G, only because 1 is greater than -4. +1 is greater than -4. So my habit for algebra is when I'm manipulating variables, move the smaller variable onto the side with the larger one. That's just a habit that I have. It's not the only way to do it, but that's just what I do. When I move my -4, I have to move it by doing the opposite. So -4 plus 4, remember they cancel. That's why I crossed them out over here. Okay. I don't add -4G to 4 because those are unlike terms. There's no G here. So when I added on the 4G to the right, I got to add 4G to the left. And 1G plus 4G, 5G. And I bring down my 6 again. So now I have 6 plus 5G equals -4. And I got -4 because they canceled earlier. Okay. I subtracted 6. Okay. Subtracted 6 from both sides. These go away because +6 minus 6 is 0. Bring down my 5G and I got -10. Divide, you got -2. Okay. This is mild. Now let's get to spicy. Fracciones. Okay. Do not be intimidated by these. You can handle it. Okay. Same principle though. I got to distribute. When I'm looking into my parentheses, I can't simplify these. So I got to distribute in order to manipulate things the way that I want. Okay, luckily these are pretty easy fractions, so this shouldn't be too bad. Okay, but you're gonna do 1/2 times -4 and 1/2 times 6x. Right, half of -4 is -2 plus half of 6x is 3x. That's what 1/2 time means, half of, right? So half of -4, -2, half of 6x, 3x. Now I got this other stuff here. My 1/3 x, I can bring that bad boy down. Not working with that right now. Plus, like I did over here, I got to distribute my 2/3 to everything in parentheses. 2/3 times x is just 2/3 x plus, and 2/3 times 9. Remember, that looks like this. 2/3 times 9 over 1 is 18 over 3, which is 6. Okay, remember when you're doing fraction times a whole number, you put the whole number as with a denominator of 1. Multiply straight across. Okay, reduce if you're able to. And that's how I got this. Boom. Okay. Now I got some like terms, y'all. I got a 1/3 x and a 2/3 x, all on the same side. 1/3 x plus 2/3 x is 3/3, which is 1. See how that works? So bring down all of this. -2 plus 3x equals, again, 1/3 plus 2/3 is 3/3, which simplifies into just 1x. And then I got my plus 6. Okay. Again, my algebra habit is to move the smaller variable over to the side of the bigger variable. This is what I like to do. So I'm going to move my 1x to my 3x side. And how do I do that? By doing the opposite. So subtract 1x, subtract 1x. Going to bring this loveliness over here. -2 plus 3x equals x plus 6. Subtract 1x. Got -2. So 3x minus 1x is 2x. X minus 1x cancel and bring down my 6. Now I don't want anything with my coefficient, with my variable here. So I got to move my constant over. Okay, got to move my constant over. Okay, how do I move it? I do the opposite. So right now it's -2. So I'm going to add 2. It's getting pretty messy, but I love it. Love it, I love it, I love it. Okay, bring it over. -2 plus 2 cancel. So now I just have 2x equals 6 plus 2 is 8. Divide, and x is equal to 4. Okay, and this is the gist of your homework, right? Your homework on Schoology. So let's talk about it again. When you have the fractional factor outside of the parentheses, distribute that factor to all of the terms in parentheses. 1/2 times -4, -2. 1/2 times 6x, 3x. That's for the left. I simplified this into -2 plus 3x equals. Now let's work on the right. 1/3 x, bring it down. 2/3 times x, 2/3 x. 2/3 times 9 is 6, because 2/3 times 9 over 1 is 18 over 3, which reduces to 6. I got 1/3 and 2/3. I add them together. I get 3/3 and I get 1. So now I bring all of this down. -2 plus 3x equals, again, the pink reduces to 1x, and bring down my 6. Okay. I move my 1x over, and I move it by doing the opposite. Right now it's a positive 1x, so I got to subtract 1x to both sides. So what I did over here. Okay. 3x minus 1x is 2x. X minus X, they cancel. That's what happens here. And I bring down my 6 and bring down my -2. And now I want to move my -2 over here with my 6. So I got to do the opposite. So I added 2. And that's how I got 2x is equal to 8. That's it for me. You have more than enough. I did more than enough problems, gave you more than enough explanation for you to handle this homework. So I expect you to handle it. All right. Let me know if you have any questions.